Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for all your kind words and your encouragement, your very kind comments and good wishes. It really helps me with carrying on with life, and also to continue putting up content with hopes to help others. This video is specifically to answer a question from CK. CK asked, how do you stay so strong? What gives you the strength to carry on? Okay, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. So just to let you know, my life has always been somewhat challenged. I've somehow or other always been tested. My dad passed away when I was still 15. I wasn't 16 yet, and he was the sole breadwinner of the house. My mom back then, she was a housewife, so that was a big challenge for us in the family. And not long after my mom passed away, when I was 28 years old, at that point anyhow, my marriage was already rocky, and I had 2 young children at that time. After my mom passed away, I think my decision to get a divorce and become a single parent to 2 young kids was a tough one, but I had the gumption to do it because of my sense of responsibility towards my children. So that was a different kind of challenge. Now, when I was diagnosed with cancer, it was very sudden, it was very shocking. So I think I didn't really have the time to process that. All I was thinking was, when I was told I had cancer, my immediate thought was, get it out of me, get it out of me. You know, the mindset is like, get the cancer cells out of my body. So I proceeded with the operation 2 weeks after finding out from the doctor. Of course, that came along with the side effects of the operation, with me living with lymphedema. When that happened, that was really hard. I think the cancer was shocking, but the side effect was even harder, because my legs started swelling. My legs right now, they look kind of like elephant legs. Yeah, so I think this was by far more painful to deal with, harder to accept, because when the cancer came along, it was more like getting it out of me. So obviously the motivation is to stay alive and not have that illness. But with lymphedema, it's something that stays with you for the rest of your life. So that has been difficult. After I found out that I had been declared a bankrupt, how that happened was, after my cancer, I did not have the will to live. I wasn't suicidal, I just did not have the will to live. Life was very messy at that time. And so when I was declared a bankrupt, that was a shock as well. But at that time, it was easier to survive because it wasn't a fully digital world yet. So you can get paid by check, you can cash out checks, you can hold on to cash and things like that. But it was stressful being a bankrupt for 7 years, because there are a lot of things that you can't do, which is why right after my bankruptcy was cleared, the first thing I did was actually registered my business and set up the business straight away. Now that was a different motivation altogether. Even though it was stressful, it was a financial status challenge. Now, as far as my daughter, when she got cancer, the first time we found out, obviously our thought was that this is something we can overcome with surgery. And true enough, she did undergo surgery. But also, unfortunately, 1 month after that, when we went for the checkup, we found out that the cancer cells were still there. So which is why she had to go for chemotherapy. Chemotherapy was tough, but how did I keep up with that? Obviously at that time, because I'm her mom, And I love my daughter so much, plus we were very, very close. But yeah, regardless of whether we were very close or not, I think any parent would find the strength and patience needed to take care of their children. So it was, the first time round wasn't so tough. It was more shocking finding out that she had cancer, and we had to schedule a surgery. Her surgery was scheduled for 4 hours, but it took 6.5 hours because when they opened her up, while they were in there thinking that they just had to remove the tumor from her liver, they found that there were cancer cells in her stomach as well. So that's why it took 2.5 hours longer. So after the operation, 1 month after that, thinking that the worst was over, but the cancer did come back. Now this is the part where we really had to draw on our strength, because that whole of 2022 was filled with hospital trips. We had to go for a CT scan, MRI, just the doctor's appointment, the checkup, chemotherapy sessions. So 2022 was full of hospital trips. And at that time, I think when it requires your physical strength and attention, you don't really think about anything else except that it needs to be done. It just needs to be done because the cancer was still there. 1 year after that, the doctor said that her cancer was in remission, so we felt victorious. Unfortunately, that only lasted for about 5 months. After that, my daughter could feel like there was something not right in her body. So we went for a checkup. We did the whole thing again, the CT scan, MRI, and a biopsy confirmed that her cancer came back, and it came back in stage 4, and it had also spread to other parts of her body. So I think this was by far the most challenging situation in terms of looking for the strength to carry on. But yeah, I think to sum it up so far, going through life's challenges. When I was young, when I was a teenager and my dad passed away, him being the only breadwinner, my motivation back then was obviously survival, because you're young, mom's a housewife, dad's not around anymore, so you start thinking about money. So the motivation back then was survival. When my mom passed away, I was already 28 years old and my kids were young. My son was 4, my daughter was a year plus. The motivation at that time was also survival, but I wasn't a teenager anymore. I was already working, and I wanted to provide a good life for my kids. So it's the same circumstance when I decided to go for a divorce as well. And also at that time, I was already more financially stable. So I think in that stage of life, other than survival, I had graduated to more of a status level. I think this very much coincides with if you studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's very similar. So initially I was worried about survival. As I gained more financially, I was thinking more about status, a more comfortable life. And when I got cancer and I started developing lymphedema 1 year after that, my motivation was different. My motivation to carry on in life was to actually have like financial freedom or freedom of time in my hands, which I could do because I was at a much older age. I believe I was already 35 at that time, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, at that time, what kept me going was wanting to have more time for myself so I could focus more on my family and my health. But the latest one, when my daughter passed away, that one was very difficult because after diagnosing her cancer relapse and knowing that she had limited time left, so I completely dedicated my life to taking care of her. So fortunately we had 5 whole months together. Now looking back, when I reflect, it wasn't hard to give her my all. I wanted to give her my all because I knew that she was not going to be around permanently. So you will find the strength to do it somehow or other, by hook or by crook. What was really difficult was because I became her primary caregiver and I was taking care of her 100%. It was hard to carry on with life after that because I did not leave anything for myself. So it was hard to pick up after she had left. So it had taken me well over a year and 2 months to finally be able to be as good as possible, as normal as possible, to come out and talk about this. One of the things that really helped me to come back was back in 2017, around 2017, I had prepared a brand deck for myself. So I had left employment at the end of 2015. I had always been working in the media industry, in the corporate world, for 18 years. At the end of 2015, my last employment, I used the time after that to do personal development work. So personal development work made me recognize that I was actually good at things like communication, presentation, negotiation, due to the nature of my job. And I decided that those transferable skills can be used for me to become a trainer, to teach people, become a trainer, a coach, speaker, kind of thing. Now, because I worked in the media industry, specifically advertising industry, branding is also something that has started becoming more popular over here. So I did my personal brand work. I listed down what was my vision, my missions, my goals in life, what were the things that I wanted to achieve and all of that. Now, why this is very important is because earlier on in life, when you are driven by motivations are normally external factors. Like I mentioned earlier, when I was younger, my motivation was survival because my dad passed away and he was the breadwinner. During the divorce, my motivation was because I was financially stable. Then it's obviously about the kids. And later on, when I got cancer, it was about my health and also still about my family. Now, the thing is, the highest form of motivation that you can reach is obviously a purpose-driven motivation. But the good thing about purpose-driven motivation is that it comes from you internally, but it's something that you want to do outwards for others. Earlier I mentioned that motivation is external, correct? It's external factors, as in you need to do something and it involves basically for your own, it's something from the outside that you need for your own survival or the people around you and their survival. When you are purpose driven, what happens is more of like what comes from within you and how you can give it out and help other people. So looking at this personal brand deck was what reminded me and pulled me out of my grief and depression and sadness slowly but surely. That it reminded me, like, there are things that I want to achieve, there are things that I want to do, and I think all in all, if you really think about it, I would be a fool to not take this opportunity to share my stories with people out there with the intention of trying to help them out. Because if I didn't do it, then I would basically just live a very sad existence. So yeah, that is basically what kept me going. It was different stages of life, different challenges, different motivations all the way through. But yeah, thank you so much for asking. I do hope my story has been helpful. I'm sorry it's such a long video, but I just wanted to share as much as possible so that it can help people out there. So thank you again, CK, for that great question. I hope that answers your question. Anyone else out there who may have questions, do let me know. I'll be happy to answer them and help out wherever I can. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.